his career kicked off with an incredible long shot.
I was never going to get a break. There was not a chance.
And skyrocketed with a string of unforgettable characters.
Rambo was kind of like a fantasy.
Sylvester Stallone fought his way to the top of the Hollywood mountain.
If I wasn't afraid at times, I wouldn't work as hard.
But few understood the unique challenges he faced.
But when you do stick your head above the crowd, you got to be prepared for people to try to take it off.
I've always said that an artist dies twice, and the second time's the easy one.
And there's a part of society that says, no, age gracefully. I said, talk about an oxymoron. I need age gracefully.
In the next half hour, we'll hear the story from Stallone himself.
I'd like to do Shakespeare, but it's not in the cards.
And from his co-stars.
I just loved him. I thought he was so pretty. I thought, well, I'd at least like to spend 4 months around a good-looking hunk like that.
I never got to see him naked. I was banned from the set that day.
Well, excuse me, stick around, because it's getting hot in here.
Years before he became an international superstar, Sylvester Stallone was just another teenager helping out his family.
My stepfather owned the original Crispy Pizza Company out of Philadelphia, and my job was to go to food conventions, these giant multi-thousands of foods up in Chicago. And I was doing this like when I was 12 and 13 years old, and I would get nosebleeds over the oven. I mean, enough of pizza. So when people go, hey, how about some pizza? I'm going, it's like an automatic gag. I said, no, how about some liverwurst, head cheese, anything but pizza. Growing up, Stallone rejected his first name for something more common, Mike.
Yeah, because Sylvester's a tough handle to walk around with. Hello, honey, you want to go out tonight? Yes. My name is Sylvester, as in Tweety, as in Putty Tat, as in Bird, as in Cart. It was over. It was very bad. So I assumed a very simple American name, Mike, and I kept it up until I was about 23 years old. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to fail in New York, at least I would like to fail with a memorable name. So I went back to Sylvester, and that really, I mean, my career exploded. I think that year I got a job as an usher. And I got a job as a deli worker. So it really it was such a beautifully timed tactical.
I realized right then, every role I was getting was the kind of mugger. Then I mugged Jack Lemmon, and I was just mugging everybody, and then I became like a goon on Kojak. So I said, if I had to write my own part. I mean, the handwriting was not on the wall, it was like right in front of me. I said, I have to do this. So that's what that did. I mean, that really opened my eyes to where I was never going to get a break. There was not a chance.
Stallone wrote a screenplay for a boxing film called Rocky, with himself as the lead. The studio loved the script, but wanted Sly to step aside for a big-name actor. Despite intense pressure, Stallone refused to give in.
You have to try. You have to see if you really are what you think you are. And by that I mean, I wanted one chance to prove whether I was a good actor, or I was a lousy actor, or whether I should go get a Dairy Queen stand in Pacoima, or what I should do for a living. Maybe I should get out of acting. And I just needed one vehicle to prove it. I had to be up there just enough to say, Jesus, you stink, Stallone, or not bad.
The studio finally agreed. Sly gave it 100%.
I started about 5 months into training, and the regime of abstaining from hanky-panky and eating a lot of meat and developing a Tyrannosaurus Rex type mentality, running and sparring and taking the bruises, but I felt that came out in the film. I knew this was my one shot, and I wasn't about to cheat on it. I wasn't about to come in there and look like Tinkerbell for an hour and a half. I said, oh God, if I stink, at least let me stink with class. Something. And, geez, it was so great.
Stallone opened up about the drive to succeed.
There's always fear. There's always fear, and I even put it in Rocky 3 that, you know, I'm afraid. The fear is the fuel that we use for overachievement. If I wasn't afraid at times, I wouldn't work as hard. And because the fear is, I don't want to slip back into mediocrity. I don't want to just say, okay, I want to rest on my laurels. So I hear footsteps all the time, and I know that I only have a certain amount of time, and I don't want to waste it because it's gone so quickly. I mean, since Rocky has been almost 7.5, 8 years, and I think that Dolly and I are just overachievers because we know that there's only a certain amount of productivity in a day, and we don't want to waste it.
It was pointed out that both stars would soon be turning 40.
But I don't mind. I'm proud of every year I've lived. What is somebody once said, age is mind over matter. If you don't mind, then it don't matter. And I don't mind.
Yeah,
now, Stallone, it's killing him.
You're right.
I'm going to get him a
I'm
hairpiece and
I,
all
I
that.
do. I travel with my own surgeon. Most people have a secretary. I have a guy standing with a knife and a scalpel. Okay.
Throughout all these movies, Stallone maintained a grueling workout routine.
Every day. But sometimes a little bit more severely, like for Rambo's, we're in there every day. But if I'm just coasting, maybe 4 times a week. You know, I do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. But it's become, people say, "Oh, what's the secret?" I say the secret is, to me, it's a business, it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's something that you make your hobby. And it's also an appreciation of you've got, it's painful, and you have to have respect for it, but you know that you're getting something for it. So again, it's a lifestyle, and the dividends are great.
Where did you get those glasses that are yours?
Stallone was back on top with 1989's Tango and Cash, which teamed him with Kurt Russell.
Actually, that worked great for the film because he brings about a certain corniness that we all like, and kind of bunkiness and hay in the hair syndrome. And I bring about a
lot of leather,
olive oily kind of, every time I sit down I leave a stain, kind of a greasy East Coast feel, and together we make a
Kansas.
movie.
We should do good in Kansas.
We cure cancer, yes sir.
Ready, and action!
The two actors had no problem getting along.
That's it, just talking and being so unafraid to insult one another. Seriously,
I know.
To be irreverent, okay, fine, I know he's an actor, but I'm going to give him a line reading or a sly, I don't like the way that sounds, back and forth. That, I think, is that open line of communication, which is very, very, I haven't found it in my marriage yet, but I found it in my acting, thank you.
Sly still loved the idea of doing comedy. He signed up to play a gangster in 1991's Oscar for director John Landis. But one studio executive worried about the movie's lack of action. Both Oscar and Stallone's next comedy, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, had disappointing ticket sales. Sly wasn't surprised when critics attacked.
You do shoot at people that are a little bit more obvious. I'll never forget my first acting coach, or one of the first ones. I was at a junior college in Florida, and she said something very prophetic. I said, you know, I really would like to get the lead in this play. It was Carousel. Mm-hmm. Lillian it was called. Eventually went on to Carousel. And they said, you know, I said, I really think I can do it. She said, you don't want to do it. I said, really, I want to do it. She goes, let me tell you something right now. The day you stick your head above the crowd and want to be the lead, people are going to be lining up to take it off. And little did she know that those words are ringing so true. When you do stick your head above the crowd, you got to be prepared for people to try to take it off. So they've been clipping, they've been giving me haircuts for years, so I'm kind of used to it.
You're laughing on the way to the bank again.
I giggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Demolition Man was another hit and featured Stallone doing a nude scene.
But I find as soon as you take your clothes off, all the guys begin to look for UFOs. They're going, no one looks at your face anymore. It's like, yeah, okay, beautiful, You know what I mean? It's really, it's that kind of thing. So you're running around naked and everyone is looking for flying saucers. You know, it's like.
What's wrong? You broke contact.
The movie also featured Sandra Bullock in one of her early roles.
Hi.
Hi, darling.
I never got to see you naked. I was banned from the set that day.
Well, excuse me, stick around. Because
She loved the tone that Stallone set during shooting.
It was very equal. I mean, we're all on equal ground. Nobody was, you know, nobody was above anybody else. So in the beginning, it's a little scary, but day 2, you're okay.
And let me just say that I think it's certainly one of the more adventurous things I've ever done, and certainly more sensual than anything.
In 1994's The Specialist, Stallone played an assassin who has a steamy romance with Sharon Stone.
You can look really silly in a love scene. I've seen some very, very pathetic love scenes in my life, and I've seen some very good ones, and it's a delicate, delicate balance on how far do you go, what's the cutoff point, when the guys get nervous and women like it, when the women say it's kind of gross, and the position. We've seen everything. This time I said, let's try to be something, let's be kind of poetic in this. Let's be suggestive, but let's not get pornographic. Let's not wrap legs around each other's heads. Let's not, you know, smash each other against walls. So this was pushing a different button, and Sharon and I, it was a love scene. It wasn't like in Basic Instinct, there was anger.
There's no anger in this. This was just real passion. And thank God Sharon and I practiced for months.
Stallone once again played a character who was a loner.
It's been such a reoccurring theme in all my films. I mean, they really are loners. You never see them go home to like 8 kids and a bowl of spaghetti. You know, it's a mangy cat or a couple of turtles, or you know what I mean? Cold pizza in the icebox. I think that's something I can relate to. I spent a lot of time like that in New York trying to make it as an actor. I really lived a very, very cloistered, removed life. And that just seems to be a recurring. Plus, I think it's identifiable. No matter how many people we have around us, there's always a sense of loneliness at times. It just creeps into us. We could be on a Carnival cruise line and just feel like jumping overboard some nights.
In 1995, Stallone went to London to shoot Judge Dredd, a role that required a special helmet.
Well, you get a headache because I have to listen to myself all day long. The words just bang around inside. And the other thing is, you get some real bad hair. Bad hair. And the third thing is, it was too small. So your nostrils, normally they go from front to back, they now go sideways. So you become kind of like gorilla-esque, you know, it's like, how you doing, Vinny Bambazzi, you know. You became a loan shark collector, you know, after a while.
In 1997, Sylvester Stallone was making big changes. He married girlfriend and former model Jennifer Flavin. He also signed on to do director James Mangold's Copland, a lower-budget film featuring such stars as Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel.
And it's something where I am just part of the machine. I am not the machine. And that is something quite different for me in the past few years. I think that we have gotten to a point of saturation, maybe, and even, at least with me, I've gotten as far as I can get in a certain genre.
Stallone gained 40 pounds to play the role of a pushed-around police officer. It seemed he was no longer a major force.
Forget what we could do, it's what we should do!
In 2003, Stallone agreed to play a villain in Spy Kids 3, Game Over. In 2006, at age 60, Stallone brought his most famous character back to the screen in Rocky Balboa. The movie was both a commercial and critical success.
I have my daughters here to see that they had no idea what I used to do for a living. They thought I was a bad golfer. That was what I swear. So I said, how do you say? I made these movies a long time ago. And to end it here in Philadelphia is a dream come true. I mean, I used to walk these streets as a kid. So can you imagine? It's just perfect. Yeah, but he's going to be blocked.
As with Rocky Balboa, Stallone decided to once again direct himself.
If it's going to be the last vehicle of this character, I'd like to be involved in every aspect of it, because usually when someone else does it, you have regrets, and it doesn't have your personality to it. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to have Rambo directed by Rambo? And you know what I mean? It just cuts out the middleman, and it's just a direct through line and very pure. Also, I'd like to take on the responsibility of that, because if something does go wrong, I will have no regrets. I'll say, well, I did the best I can, and it's no one else's fault but mine. And then if it works, I'll just take all the credit.
Rambo was an international box office hit, but Sylvester Stallone wasn't through yet. In 2009, The Expendables became a worldwide smash hit, grossing more than $250 million. A sequel followed in the summer of 2012. Sylvester Stallone has come a long way from his starring role in Rocky back in 1976. The theme of that film is not so different from the theme of his life.
I think it really is inspiring for a lot of people that anything can happen, and just when you think things are over, they're not over. And you know, it's all about a cycle. It's just like a cycle. And there was a down cycle, but it's all about peaks and valleys. And finally, we got out of the valley, and Rocky came home to roost.
Once considered a playboy, Stallone now seems content to be settled down. Sylvester Stallone, a true Hollywood icon.
And Rocky and I thank you, because believe me, inside of every one of you lives a real Rocky. Thank you all. God bless you.
Yo, Philly, I love you forever.